Well, good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Justin Peter, and I'm very pleased to welcome you to today's webinar, which is Tours for Canadian Alumni and Friends in 2024. I'm one of the owners of Worldwide Quest. We're a small company based in Toronto, and we specialize in small group experiential tours on all 7 continents. We've been operating since 1970, and for the last about 15 years or so, we've been working closely with various Canadian universities and their alumni travel programs to offer a range of interesting tours to their alumni and friends. Today's webinar should last about 40 minutes or so. This webinar will be or is being recorded, in fact, right now. So if you have to step out, that's all right. We're sorry to see you leave, but everyone who's registered will receive a link to the recording of this webinar after the broadcast is complete in the next day or so. But of course, I do hope you will stick through till the end because there's a few special reasons, I think, but I'll reveal that in a moment. Probably you heard about today's webinar through one of our university partners, and possibly one of these fine institutions here. As I mentioned, we work with a number of universities. I'll be talking about a small number of tours today. Most of them are being sponsored by one of these institutions here. I should mention that all the tours I'm going to be discussing today are open to everyone. You don't have to necessarily be a graduate or alumnus of one of these schools. If you've heard about it through the school, you are welcome to participate and to have your friends join us as well on tour. So please be aware of that. I'll talk in brief about the various tours. At the end of the presentation, I will share a link as well here in the chat to the side that leads you to a website where you can view all of these tours at once and explore further. So you have that opportunity there. I should also take a moment to mention, if you can't see a slide right now, you should be seeing a slide with a number of different universities listed. If you can see my face, but you can't see the slide, there you can see at the bottom of the window with my face, there is a gray bar, and there would be 3 little dots below that. So if you see me but you don't see the slide, click on those 3 little dots, and it should allow the window with the slides to pop down. So just in case you find yourself in that predicament. And as I mentioned, this talk is being recorded. So you'll have a chance you'll receive a link, and then you can share that link with anyone else you would like to as well. So who are we and what is it we do? Well, Worldwide Quest, we love exploring the world and learning. And as I mentioned, since 1970, we've been presenting a small number of tours, or rather small group tours to a large number of places. This here is a photograph of our very recent alumni expeditions trip to Magdalen Islands in Atlantic Canada. And we like to keep our group small to allow a fuller experience. We think of the different destinations. And we also like to place an emphasis on learning, lifelong learning, and providing opportunities for you as a traveler to make connections and to facilitate those. So very often our tours are led by distinguished alumni or faculty from one of the participating schools who specializes or has a special experience in the destination at hand. So it's not simply going to the destinations, but it's coming home with a message and with a greater frame of reference and appreciation for that place. So we go to all 7 continents, always prioritizing small groups and lifelong learning experiences. I did want to mention, we do have a special giveaway in this following this presentation. If you stay through to the end, we're going to be drawing a name of one lucky participant to win this wonderful book from Lonely Planet. Whoops, that slide went ahead there on me. This beautiful book, the travel book from Lonely Planet. And so stay through to the end for your opportunity to win this. Also, I should take a moment to mention the chat at the side. There should be to the side of your screen a console with chat and questions. I put a little message in the chat already. but there is a questions tab with an arrow pointing at questions, and you pop down on that, and you have any specific questions, you can enter them there, and I'll try to answer them all within the length of the broadcast. The time will be limited, however, but if you're interested in a specific tour and you connect through to that tour at the link I can provide later, you'll have an opportunity to speak with one of my colleagues if you have any further questions about the tour. So I'll also take a moment to mention that we do, if you're interested in this country, Bhutan, we have an impending or upcoming trip to Bhutan with a fantastic study leader, Paula Swart, and we have a couple of spots left on this tour. So if you're interested in traveling to Bhutan on relatively short notice, I wanted to let you know about it there. So let's talk travel and the different destinations we're offering to the Canadian University alumni community in 2024. And I'll show you this overview of those different destinations here. I'll tell you what they are, but you can see we're going to different places, Canada and abroad, warmer and cooler destinations. And so over the next little while, I'm going to talk to you about all these destinations and what I think makes them special and why we hope you'll consider joining them. And the first tour I want to talk about was a tour to remote Newfoundland and Labrador. And by remote Newfoundland and Labrador, I'm really talking about the Great Northern Peninsula of Newfoundland, which is the sort of the panhandle, the top of Newfoundland, as well as the south coast of Labrador, just across from there. And if you haven't been, or if you've been, you may already have an association with this place visually. It is the Northern Peninsula, or the base of the Northern Peninsula is the home of this fantastic place that appears in so many commercials, the Grossmore National Park. So it's full of fantastic landscapes, geology, and the tip of the Northern Peninsula is also known as the only authenticated Viking settlement in mainland North America. So these are places, in fact, that we will visit on this tour because they're essential experiences and places. But the place, of course, has many living communities all along the coast that hold great interest from a cultural standpoint. They are very special culturally, and so a trip, and specifically our trip, offers the opportunity to go to these different remote places, remote outposts, and sites of interest, and meet with the local people, and also get a lot of historical context. I'm going to get into that in a moment for this region, what makes it special. One of the things I think is very special about this tour is the properties we go to. One of them in particular is very interesting, is the Battle Harbor properties on the southeast side of Labrador, and it's sort of the farthest extent we'll go in the tour along the coast of Labrador. But this is essentially a 19th and 20th century fishing outpost, and the buildings have been converted to accommodations. So it's in fact a living museum, a fantastic example of a Labrador South Shore fishing village, but you can actually stay there, and that's exactly what we're going to be doing, enjoying quaint and very attractive accommodation. So it's a chance to actually be there, stay there, get a sense for the place. What we think is particularly special about this trip for alumni and those who love to learn is we have a great study leader who is this gentleman here, Sean Cadigan, who's a faculty at Memorial University in St. John's, Newfoundland, and he has written a number of works on the history of Newfoundland. And so throughout this trip, you'll be sightseeing, have an opportunity to speak with the local peoples in these places, and also getting a really great context from prehistory through modern times of all these different locations we'll be going to. And we visit in sort of the middle of June 12th to 22nd, which also is the start of iceberg season. So you'll have a chance to see all the sites, all those special sites in Newfoundland for this time of year. Enjoy the iconic locations such as Grossmore National Park at the base of the Great Northern Peninsula. Go to places like Losso Meadows, which is the home of the Viking settlement, and get that fantastic exposure to the scenery. So we think this appeals, whether or not you've been to Newfoundland. It's a different, slower look at Newfoundland with a fantastic learning component, adding greater depth to your experience. And of course, photographic opportunities are just amazing. So we urge you to consider this trip. It's a trip with all those various dimensions, culture, geology, some walking. I wouldn't say it's trekking at all, some hiking, but relatively easy hiking, music, history, remote communities, and Viking history as well. So it's one of those we'll hope you'll consider. Remote Newfoundland and Labrador in June 2024. Now, on the theme of seaside destinations and places, another tour we're very excited to present a little bit earlier in May of 2024 is this trip to Croatia boat bike tour. Now, what does that mean exactly? We might have inserted an and between boat and bike as well. This is a different tour. It's an expedition cruise along the coast of Croatia and the Adriatic Sea, just north of Italy. But it's also an active tour. Many of our alumni travelers have asked about, they want to be active. You keep fit at home and you want to keep fit while you're on vacation, also learning and experiencing the wonderful places. And this tour is a combination of two great ways to explore destinations, by boat and by bike. So we go to the iconic coastline of Croatia, the Adriatic Sea. There's a lot of beautiful historic villages that stretch back hundreds of years. So we have that chance to appreciate that. But the way we do this, here's a map of the destination. Starting in the south at Dubrovnik, from near there we embark a small vessel, and we sail along the coast and make various stops on islands, and mainly on the islands, where we will take tour bicycles. So we have bicycles available as well as e-bikes, and on a number of different excursions along the coast, you will just explore at eye level and get a chance to do it at a relatively slow pace. So you get a chance to cover more ground and keep fit and see all the sights. And you don't have to change hotel rooms from one night to another. For the most part, other than the very beginning of the tour, you're on this very nice small vessel, the motor vessel Magellan, hosting a maximum of 34 travelers on it. So it's a nice small ship expedition, and we have upper and lower level cabins available here. Very nice, and we think roomy with dining al fresco. And so you'll see the essential sites on this trip as well. You'll start in beautiful Dubrovnik, on the south tip of Croatia, starting on land, and eventually, of course, embarking our vessel, the Magellan, and cruising from one spot to another, enjoying the sights. Now, of course, I think our travelers have told us that eating well and experiencing local cuisine is an important part of their experience. So, of course, we will be enjoying great Mediterranean cuisine all along the way, with fine wines also available too. And we'll be seeing that the entire destination, as I said, at eye level. It's a chance to connect directly with the place and enjoy the sights and the many different dimensions of this destination in a more active way. And bike rides are ranging from the shortest, we think, 17 kilometers to the maximum. The longest ride is 60 kilometers. That's just once, but generally in the range of 20 to 30 kilometers a day. And as I said, regular bikes are available and e-bikes as well. So if you need that extra bit of motivation to make the longer treks, you can do that as well. So a fantastic, active way to enjoy an experience, keeping it fit and enjoying everything that Croatia's getting known for. Along the lines of active trips, I'm very pleased to announce the return of a trip that we're running. In fact, very shortly, we have a walking trip along the Portuguese coastal Camino, and it was so popular we had a wait list for this year's trip. So we've decided to offer this trip, the Portuguese coastal Camino walking trip, once again in the fall of 2024. So if you missed it, or if you've been thinking about a Camino de Santiago walk, this is your opportunity to enjoy sights along an iconic walking route and keep fit and active as well. And of course, Camino de Santiago. Santiago, this is just a map of it. Santiago de Compostela is the object of the Camino de Santiago walk, located in northwestmost Spain. But there are different routes to get there. The most popular is the red here, but on this trip, the Portuguese coastal Camino, we're starting from within Portugal in the city of Porto in northern Portugal, well known, of course, as the home of port wines. And from there, after an initiation to the city of Porto, we will start walking north along the coast and end in Santiago de Compostela. So the trail, the many trails are known for their scallop emblem. This is a closer look at the trail we take from Porto going north. And so a lot of the walking is along the coastline, which is of course scenic along the way. And we'll have various walks, generally from 20 to 30 kilometers a day. And this trip is what we call a supported walk, which means all of your belongings will be taken from one hotel or one lodge to the next for you. You don't have to carry much more than what you need for the actual day's walk. And you know, if you decide that you need a break partway during a walk, then our vehicle is available to come and assist you as well in getting from one place to another. So it's a supported walk, and you have certain goalposts in mind each day, and you're hiking with other active walkers or active travelers who like to experience, like to share that same experience. So you have the beautiful coastal scenery, but of course the other part of this is the Iberian Peninsula has a long cultural past and beautiful and interesting buildings and villages that you have a chance to walk through and experience as well. Once again, with that objective being the city of Santiago de Compostela. So it's a great opportunity as well if you want to do a pre-trip extension in Lisbon, to arrive in Lisbon, which is a very popular destination now, to start use this trip as an excuse to visit Lisbon and then do this Camino de Santiago walk. So once again, it's a trip that's touching on various themes that we like to explore. Fantastic food and wine are also available on this route, so you enjoy a nice reward for each day's walk. And our walk leader is an experienced walk leader who will coach you along the way if you need that, and you'll also have a chance to, with that person, prepare in advance for your trip. So glad to present this trip to you in 2024. Our next tour that we're presenting to the alumni in 2024 is South India. We call it Temples and Tropical Landscapes. And India is one of those places where we say in a nice way, we love India, of course. I love it. I've been there many times. That you know, you love it or you hate it, but never both at once. And it's a place where you go perhaps with certain expectations, and it's an eye-opening destination, really. But I think the one thing that, if you have not been to India, that you might not appreciate before going, or even if you've been to one part of the country, it is a very large country, very diverse geographically, culturally. And this trip, South India, focuses really on just one small region. We like to think of it as well as sort of the kinder, softer India. It's somewhat less busy than the north, and has its own distinctive regional touches as well. So this trip is an opportunity to discover a part of India. If it's your second trip to India, if you've been to the north, it offers a completely different dimension. If you have not been to India at all previously, it offers a great introduction to India as well, a great first step into India as well. So our trip really focuses on the south tip of India, starting on the southeast coast and running along the coast, and then crossing over. There's a set of mountains, the Western Ghats, along the west coast, running north-south, and then crossing over those mountains to the southwest side. And so we have a chance to see a lot of different sites, different things that are quite different than I think anything you'll see elsewhere, and also an opportunity to appreciate, I think, a surprising opulence in this part of the country, with beautiful buildings. There's also something very interesting to watch, and this part of the country is also hilly. As I said, you're crossing the Western Ghats, which are a nice high range, and in the foothills You have a number of, well, tea plantations are vast and extensive, so we have beautiful scenery as well in those places. But also a fantastic, a very interesting history. Of course, India, many of you, you're likely aware, was under a British, was part of the British Empire until 1947, but also had a number of other foreign outposts. One of them is Pondicherry, or Pondicherry as it's called now, which was a French outpost for almost 300 years. It's located on the southeast side of India. So you have a chance to visit Pondicherry and stay there and appreciate a different side that you might not have expected, a French twist, if you will, to India. It's a beautiful place. People, I have to say, are very welcoming, particularly welcoming in South India. And with Worldwide Quest, India is one of our specialty destinations. So we think of this as an opportunity for you to experience those places, to visit, but also get a different, a further interpretation, a really solid interpretation of the different things you'll see that you've probably never seen before and experienced. Now, of course, India is known for its cuisine. If you've eaten Indian food in North America, most of it is from the north of India, but South India has its own distinctive cuisine. And whereas what I'll call Western choices are available in case you're maybe a little cautious with experimenting, this is a great chance for you to experiment with South Indian cuisine and get a chance to see how that food is prepared and to taste it as well. Another great feature of tours to India, which I think always surprises the first-time visitors to India, is the accommodations. They're fantastic in India. I would say India offers, I dare say, the highest value accommodations that you can get anywhere in the world, because you really have, it's just simply high value accommodations. You'll stay at a nice number of different places in different settings, but beautiful, nicely maintained, and offering a good feel for the location as well. And they're nicely set and appointed. So South India, once again, a really different, multi-dimensional trip with, I think, things you will not expect, perhaps. It's really an eye-opening opportunity. I myself have been to South India only once, but I swear one day I will return. I think you will not. I think you'll really enjoy this trip. So, and the final trip I'd like to speak about today is a trip of, I dare say, epic proportions. It is epic Antarctica with the Falklands and South Georgia. This is a trip that we offered in the current itinerary for the first time last fall in October, November, and we're really pleased to be offering this again in a year's time, October, November of 2024. And it's special for a number of reasons. Once again, the focus is on learning. This expedition is a little bit larger than the other land tours, and that we take up to 88 travelers. I'll explain a little bit more about that, but it's a fantastic chance for you to travel alongside Canadians from different parts of the country and enjoy this shared experience. Of course, Antarctica is, you may have an image in your mind, a cool place with a lot of snow and ice. But the region, Antarctic region, is really perhaps vaster than you might have imagined. And what makes this expedition special is that it's not simply an Antarctic expedition to Antarctica proper, but it really gives an overview of the variety in the region. Here, the red dot is pointing at the tip of the Antarctic Peninsula. But we start on the mainland, the tip of South America, in our expedition vessel. We travel northeast to the Falkland Islands, which of course everyone's heard of due to the fame of the Falkland Islands War in the early 1980s, which is very different from Antarctica. But there's also another region, another island, the island of South Georgia, over here to the right, really in the South Atlantic, at the edge of the Southern Ocean, which encircles Antarctica proper at the bottom in white here, which offers a very interesting contrast to Antarctica, a very, very different type of experience. So we think of, ice cold penguins for the region. South Georgia specifically is known for having a lot of wildlife. In fact, it's nicknamed the Safari of the Southern Ocean, the Serengeti rather, of the Southern Ocean, mainly because of this bird, the king penguin, which is here but in massive numbers. And really, you have to see it to believe it. We're talking tens of thousands, colonies of 100,000 birds or more on the island of South Georgia. Testament really to the very high productivity of the oceans at the interface of the Atlantic and the Southern Ocean. And these colonies are vast, they're huge beyond imagination. And this is an opportunity to visit South Georgia in addition to Antarctica. I'll get back to that in a moment. But South Georgia is really probably as remote a location as you can visit in the world. And it's a different dimension to the typical Antarctic experience. We go in the spring, in the austral spring, October, November, when birds are returning to colonies. It's really the height of the elephant seal courtship time. These are two massive bull elephant seals. This is the time when you see those huge bulls fighting on the beach for territory. South Georgia also is known in particular for its place in the history of heroic exploration in the Antarctic region. You've probably heard of Ernest Shackleton. Well, this is in fact his resting place in the little town of Grytviken on South Georgia, and that's another element of this itinerary. So of course, really we're looking at three centers: the Falklands, South Georgia, and Antarctic. At the Antarctic Peninsula. And this is what we call a circle tour. We will cruise all the way from South America and back to South America. We have sea crossing days where we have the chance to learn a lot and get a huge amount of context, I think, and depth to our understanding of the region, as we have study leaders. I'm going to talk more about them in a moment, from a few of our partnering Canadian universities, study leaders who have focused their research on the polar regions, who bring a different dimension and element once again to our learning, in addition to our very experienced expedition staff from our vessel. Speaking of vessels, our vessel of choice is this beautiful ship, the motor vessel Magellan Explorer, not to be confused with the Magellan that we use in the Croatia boat bike trip. This is the Magellan Explorer that takes a maximum of 96 passengers. We are welcoming 88 guests aboard this vessel. It is a purpose-built vessel for Antarctic exploration. So it's built as opposed to some vessels which are converted to passenger use from a scientific use perhaps, or some other industrial or commercial use. This is purpose-built for exploring the region. So it's very comfortable. Most of the cabins have balconies on it or in them, so it gives a great chance for you to enjoy some privacy while enjoying the views and locations, as well as comfort and great cuisine as well. And so we start in the northern regions in the Falklands. This is in the Falklands here. It's a chance to be active as well. I wouldn't say we do difficult treks by any stretch, but you can be active to the extent you would like. So it's a chance to be out there, experience the locations and the elements. Of course, we're going to see penguins, and many different species of penguin as well. But that contrast from the Falklands and South Georgia as well to Antarctica proper, which at this point will be in spring, but it could be still hovering, -5 to hovering around the freezing mark. There will be snow on the ground as well. And in addition to walking on land at various prescribed landing locations, we also have a chance to explore by Zodiac cruise, both in Falklands, South Georgia, and in Antarctica as well. So we have a chance to explore according to the conditions. This is really an expedition. So our landings and everything, we plan for the trip to run a certain way to make certain landings. Sometimes we make compromises based on the weather conditions at the time, but it's always a fantastic learning experience. And that being said, we have, along those lines, expert staff and study leaders who provide that extra bit of depth as well. So we don't just visit the places, but we also learn a fair deal about them. And so we're very pleased to speak about that learning experience. This image is one of our Worldwide Quest staff, Catherine Jardine, who is a accomplished ornithologist telling us about, I think, penguins here. And Catherine is joining us again in next year's expedition. So it's a chance to share that experience of learning with other curious travelers. Of course, the region has fantastic scenery, which is really beyond the imagination, I think. And we're very pleased with the very positive reviews we've had of this trip. Once again, I emphasize the South Georgia element really is that different dimension. I think that will exceed your expectations as well, and give you a different view of the world too. On this upcoming expedition, we have, as I said, 3 study leaders from the different universities. And these are our study leaders: Philippe Tartel from the University of British Columbia. He's an oceanographer specializing in ocean productivity. In fact, he joined us on the previous expedition last year. At center, we have Camino, who is also an oceanographer, but he studies the impact of ice sheets on global climate and how reduction in ice sheets also affects global climate. He is also a veteran of our Antarctic expeditions for alumni travelers. And at the right, we have Brent St. Clair, who is a faculty and biologist at University of Western Ontario. In fact, Brent studies invertebrates who live in polar regions. So he spent a number of months living on Antarctica studying, if you can believe, invertebrates that managed to survive in these cold and harsh climates. And he'll have fantastic stories to tell us about his actual time living on Antarctica and how these remarkable organisms are adapted to living in these, what seem to be inhospitable places. So our 3 study leaders will be joined, as I said, by a number of, we'll have a Worldwide Quest staff aboard along with you, and a wonderful expedition crew that is joining us from our partnering ship for the vessel that we are chartering. This is a full ship charter exclusive to the Canadian University alumni community. So we hope that you'll consider joining us on this trip, which we call Epic Antarctica, with the Falklands in South Georgia. Once again, an experience of the remote, experience of the wildlife, the places, the history, and it really gives you a different impression, I think, coming home. That is the final trip I wanted to mention. I did want to just show you this website here if you want to see all of these trips and some of the other ones we're offering to the university alumni community, including some remaining departures for this year for 2023. You can go to worldwidequest.com/alumni to see these trips more. And I will also just see if I can type this into the chat here for you. And unfortunately, my chat doesn't seem to be working. Oh yeah, there we go. A little bit of a delay. I'm going to type that in for you, worldwidequest.com/alumni, and you can view that. Now, I do see a question here. I have a question here. Are all of our trips, are all these trips in US dollars? Some of our trips that I've discussed are quoted in Canadian dollars. It depends on the destination, namely trips in Canada, and European trips, generally we quote those in Canadian dollars, and some of the other trips I've discussed here are in Canadian dollars. Pricing details are all available on the detailed itineraries for these different trips that you can view, that you can in fact download from the individual trip web page. So if you have any interest, if you visit this URL that I have here, this link up here, or the one I just posted in the chat, click on that. You'll see the page of different trips, and you click on each thumbnail of the thumbnail of each trip you're interested in. You can view a little bit, you can view an itinerary at a glance, and then you'll have, there's a button available there to download the itinerary, which provides all the day-by-day details, as well as details on the accommodations, costs, inclusions, and other elements that I think are important on the trip. I don't see other questions here. I'll give it a moment for questions, if there's any others that you might have. And if there are no further questions, I did want to, of course, thank you for participating in today's webinar. And I did mention that we did have a draw for a book. So we're going to be doing our live draw for this wonderful book, the travel book from Lonely Planet. Before you log off, just once again a reminder that we are recording this presentation, and you will be sent a recording of this. And let's see who our lucky winner is. I will ask my colleague on the line to draw that for me. And the lucky winner of the travel is, drum roll please, our winner is Margaret Taylor. Congratulations, Margaret. I believe we have your contact information. We'll contact you for your address details where you can receive this wonderful book. Thank you everyone for joining us at this webinar. And if you have any questions about these trips, you may contact us either through our website, or if you'd like to send us a direct email, travel@worldwidequest.com. Once again, that's travel@worldwidequest.com. Thank you so much, everyone, and have a great day.